Okay, folks, we are live. Welcome to the 360 Marketing Squad live broadcast. I'm Mike Alton, and I am here with Jen Herman and our special guest, Jeff C. Say hey, Jeff.
Hey, Jeff.
All right.
You knew he was going to do that. You totally lobbed that one up there for him.
Left it up there. Amanda Robinson is coming in. Looks like, she may be about ready to join us. Hey, Amanda.
Hey, how are you?
Yay! We just started. Perfect timing.
I love that Amanda is in a car in a toque. Yes, it is a toque.
It is a toque. We've been over there.
I don't get the toque thing, but I'll just. Is it a Canadian thing? Is that?
Yeah, Canadians call it a toque. Americans call it a beanie. So when I moved to the U.S., I was like, I called it a toque, and everyone's like, "What the heck is a toque?" Like it was this whole thing, and I'm like, "What's a beanie?" Like it's this whole thing that goes back and forth.
It's a thing. Yes. And clearly the toque is winning because it gets the most votes. So just saying.
Absolutely.
But yes, this is definitely the epitome of a live streamer lifestyle and digital nomad lifestyle. I needed a quiet place to stream from. So right now I am connected to my wireless hotspot on my cell phone. I have a giant Diva ring light set up behind the steering wheel. I have an HD webcam rigged on a mini tripod resting on the steering wheel and my laptop on my lap while drinking Tim Hortons coffee. This is life.
Can you flag somebody down to take a photo of this rig? Because we need to see how this is all set up. Like, I'm not even joking.
And she's driving at the same time, which is amazing.
I'm not driving, but I will take a photo of this right here. And see if I can
Some cop's going to come by and go, "Ma'am, I don't know what you're doing in that car."
Well, every time I have ever read about how to do a live stream, this is it. This is exactly what they say to do.
What's that, Mike?
That's exactly how you're supposed to set it up. That's what all the documentation says.
Right.
Yeah.
Officer, can you hold this camera for me?
But I do want to point out, just for the sake of, we haven't even announced what topic we're doing tonight on tonight's show, so hey everybody, welcome. But I do want to point out that Amanda can pull this off in a car. This gives every one of you legitimately no excuse not to be able to live stream, because she has a Diva light and everything set up in her car, people.
Oh, I forgot to mention that. I forgot to mention the battery I also have set up. So I've got my rechargeable giant battery travel pack. So I've got the Diva light plugged into that and the laptop plugged into that and the cell phone plugged into that so that the cell phone can power the Wi-Fi, can power all of this fun jazz. Because why not?
Right.
Why not?
All right. So Mike, tell everybody why we're here. What's going on today?
You want me to tell them?
I do.
I would be happy to tell them. Shall I do it in song form?
Of course.
Yes, please.
You offered. You got to do it now.
I don't know what I got into with this. Can I revoke? What's going to happen?
You signed the waiver.
Predictions, here they come. We're going to tell you what's coming next year on social media. Hey.
Oh my God, that was epic. That was amazing. Stephanie's going to have so many good bloopers from this show already. It's going to be amazing.
Stephanie, that was for you.
I never knew. When he was on my show a long time ago, he would never do that.
I've had a lot of coffee, and that's what it takes.
It's also because Stephanie, Amanda, and I have fully corrupted him at this point, and he's lost what little sanity he still had. We've completely ruined it.
I was about to say, we've had a lot of influence on Mike. Poor Mike. In Mike we trust, but we're also really sorry.
Yeah. So, folks, predictions are what we're talking about. We're trying to figure out what's coming next, what's going to change with Facebook tomorrow, what new Instagram algorithm is going to crop up on Monday that's going to totally hose everything that you're doing on that particular social network. Jen laughs because it's true. What's coming with YouTube, what's coming with content, what's coming with Pinterest, Twitter, whatever the case might be. Those are the topics that we're going to dig into today to try to help you prepare yourselves for next year. Why should anybody care? Anyone have an opinion on that? Why should we care about what's coming?
I mean, I think it's one of those things that the reality is, actually, it's funny. My parents are visiting right now. And my dad even asked me today at lunch, and he was like, so what do you see happening with this whole social media stuff? Is it going away? Is it going to be replaced with something else? And this is from a non-super techie person. I get the phone calls at, Saturday afternoon, or I get the emails saying, Jen, my computer won't turn on. What do I do? So, he's asking me, what's happening with social media? What's going to change? Is it going to be replaced? And we've invested, I mean, the four of us, we've invested our careers into this industry, into this field. But as marketers, as business owners, we're invested in social media. And I think that's part of, between 360 and between everything that, we all do as social media experts, it's to make sure people know what's going on, because it does change that fast. And if you're not evolving with social media, you're using tactics from 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and those are going to hurt you in the algorithm. Those are going to hurt you with your reach. Those are going to create, ads or copy that is not going to convert. And if you're not following along with these trends and these evolutions of these processes, you're going to be left behind. So it's important to stay up to speed on everything.
Absolutely. Amanda, you have anything to add to that? Or Jeff?
I want to get Jeff to go because I think I might rant a little bit.
Well, here's when Jen was talking, I was thinking about this, that social media has gotten a bad rap in the press for probably the last, 6 months, that it's just kind of negative. There's these studies coming out saying, how bad it is to be on it, and how, it's not healthy, and, and they're all the networks are scrambling, trying to make it so it is healthy. Every network except for Pinterest, because that is healthy. But my thing is so, we'll talk about this when we get to the trends. I see a lot of this negative stuff playing into the more community-based things that you like, what you guys are doing at 360 is, not worrying, companies and brands not worrying so much about broadcasting stuff out, but taking their tribes and making it healthy, that this is a safe place to go. This is a safe place to ask questions. This is a place where they find community and find value. I think that's what's on the horizon, just because it is so negative. And there are studies that show it's not really healthy. And that's probably, Jen, why your dad was asking these questions, because most of the press is, you shouldn't be on it this much. Screen time is killing us. Sitting is the new smoking. You can't be on Facebook or your eyes will melt off. I mean, all that stuff, I think is
But in addition to that, though, it's the legal stuff too, right? Like
Right.
all the things that happened this year, even with GDPR, with the Cambridge Analytica, all these things
Europeans.
that everyone came out and they were like, Facebook's stealing all my data and I don't want to have anyone have my access to anything. And to that same point where it's been a lot of negativity about every platform. I mean, I think
Right.
Facebook probably took the brunt of it, but I think that goes across the board too.
And with that whole GDPR thing, I wanted to go back to a harbor and start dumping tea in it when they did that. I'm just so mad. I was like, come on. That's all we need to deal with now? Throw my laptop in the harbor? I don't know. Anyway.
All right, so to piggyback on top of that concept, my prediction or how I'm seeing just social media in general before I dive into like the nitty-gritty is that it is getting harder and harder and harder to run a business without social media. You need to be there. You have to have it. You need to be present. But it's also getting harder and harder for the average person, even the average computer-savvy computer user. It's getting harder to keep up. So gone are the days, in my opinion, of your average social media, your casual social media manager who is saddled with the task of managing all of your digital marketing for your small business, and wears every hat possible, is their marketing person, wears so many different hats. I think those days are kind of slowly slipping away, and I think that the days of more highly trained, highly specialized digital marketers are a requirement in business. So that's kind of how I'm seeing it shape up.
The one perspective that I always have when it comes to these kinds of questions, what's coming next, what should we do? Because I've looked at it often from a content perspective, like I do everything else, right, with Google algorithms and that sort of thing. But the same is true with social media. The more we're able to look ahead at least a little bit and prepare for what might be coming down the road, it makes it a little bit easier for us to deal with those changes when they happen, right? I mean, that can be said for anything in life, right? But when we know that something's happening with social media, we can prepare for it. Instagram, for instance, has told us that access to personal data via API is going away in less than 2 weeks, which means tools that you may have used before to manage or post to your personal profile on Instagram, they just won't work. But we know that's coming. So we can begin to prepare for that. We can make things we can change things like switch to a business profile, right? Or change how we're using Instagram to accommodate that change. So for me, that's why it's really helpful, I think, to look ahead at least a little bit, at least, in the next couple of months, and think what might be happening next, what might changes, what might be changing, what trends might be coming, that sort of thing. If you guys have anything else to add to that. Oh, Jen, you're
we
muted.
can't hear Jen.
Jen muted herself, I think.
Oh, I muted myself. Sorry. At least I know the mute button worked. I was going to say, I think Mike wrapped that one up.
And
I've got my daughter in the background, and so like if I'm not talking, I'm trying to eliminate the fact that she's back here kind of squeaking away and playing with her toys. I totally forgot I had it on mute. So I'm like,
oh gosh,
Mom
don't
life.
say squeaking. I just watched another episode of The Haunting of House Hill last night, and it was all about this squeaking that was happening behind the wall, and I just can't take it.
Whoa,
That
Mike,
should
we
be
don't
done
want
here in
to know what kind of squeaking was going on behind the wall. This is stick to
This
the
is
topic
safe
program
for
here.
This is a great holiday. That's a great holiday show to watch, by the way, too.
yeah. It's
Get in the mood
I'm
for
over
Christmas.
here like binging on Hallmark Christmas movies, and Mike's over
I
here
know.
watching Haunting.
I'm going to watch some horror. Yeah. Merry Christmas.
very
All right.
motivational. So real
So
quick,
we know
let
why
me interject
all this stuff matters.
some housekeeping.
What's next, Mike?
Let me interject some housekeeping because I forgot to mention number one, Stephanie's gone. Did anybody notice? She's not here. She's on vacation this week in Disney World.
This is why we're not talking about it, because we're all jealous that she's over there on vacation.
No kidding.
And here I thought Stephanie was just rocking some wicked facial hair.
Stephanie's down there. No, that's Jeff C. He's filling in for Stephanie, doing yeoman's work, taking the load today. And for those of you who are watching live, please let us know. Say hey. I want to encourage you to leave comments and leave questions. I'll be monitoring the questions and popping them on the screen, and I'll let the rest of you know if someone does ask a question or needs some clarification on something that we just said. So, apologize, Jen. I interrupted you. What were you saying a moment ago?
So I was saying, since we talked about, why we need to know about all the trends and everything, we want you to go first about what your trend prediction is. I'm totally jumping in on this because I said I didn't want to go first. I'm like, Mike, we're making Mike Alton go first.
Oh, okay, then. So the one thing that I was thinking about for next year from a social media perspective is video. And we know video's been huge, so I'm not going to predict, video's going to be a massive in 2019. Okay, well, that's already happened. That's silly. But what we're seeing on a lot of the different social networks is that more and more features are becoming common on multiple social networks. YouTube just announced that stories are now coming to YouTube, the same kind of content that Snapchat started and then came to Instagram and then came to Facebook, right? We're all really excited about being able to use stories everywhere. Live video has been following that same trend. There were other niche networks like Blab and so on that could do live video, and then Google Plus had live video, and now Twitter has live video, now Facebook and Instagram both have live video. So the one big social network that doesn't currently support live video is LinkedIn. And what I find interesting about that is LinkedIn did start supporting native video in the last year or so, and it's seeing a lot of success. It has really helped to create a bit of a renaissance when it comes to the use of LinkedIn. People are now swarming back to LinkedIn and getting a lot of value out of it. They're having real conversation, getting real engagement in the feed. And when they use video, it's exponentially more effective. Now, you couple that with the fact that LinkedIn is owned by Microsoft, as is Skype, which, as we can attest, because we're using Skype right now as part of this eCam live broadcast. Skype's all about live video. So it actually has surprised me that LinkedIn hasn't already incorporated live video. But that's my prediction, that by the end of next year, LinkedIn will have native live video. So you will be able to broadcast live to every major social network. And by the end of next year, there will probably be tools like eCam that will support simulcasting to all those networks at the same time. What do you guys think about that?
Can I push back a little bit about that?
No.
I can't.
This is my show. You're not allowed to push
Everybody, we say yes.
I'm
we
not
agree.
I'm not saying they won't do it. I think LinkedIn is a bad place for live video. People don't go there to consume live video. Now, that being said, if they open up like Skype video calling inside of groups where communities happen, and I don't think people want to see live video in their feed on LinkedIn when they're going there and notifications. Now, if they have it for groups, I think that's a great way to maybe give some. Everybody knows LinkedIn groups are super spammy, and everybody kind of quit using them for a while. If they want to pump some life back into them, I would say have them do that, where you could have, instead of using a Zoom room, you could go in with Skype, have your meetings, talk to your community that you're trying to build there on LinkedIn of like-minded professionals. It's a hard time for me to see LinkedIn going live in the stream. I just don't know if people will watch that, because to me, LinkedIn isn't a destination where you go to consume content. It's more of a place where you go check a resume, you do an update on what you're doing for work, you're posting your blog article for people to read. I don't know. That's just my initial thought. But your thoughts about tools, I think that's going to happen for sure. Multiple places.
See, and I'm kind of like probably between the two of you in terms of like LinkedIn with the live video. I see if live video is done in the right way, like a webinar style. So doing something like this on LinkedIn where it's very like instructional, tutorial, educational, I can see that type of live video going really well on LinkedIn, because again, you're going to get that live interaction. You're going to get that sort of, dialogue back and forth, and those meaningful interactions that, Facebook has moved towards, and which means everyone else is going to move towards it. But I see that being of value. The problem is it's easy to say that's something of value, but you can't manage that and monitor that, in which case you're going to have people doing absolute randomness in live videos on LinkedIn, and those are the ones that are going to start filling the feed that nobody wants to see, and essentially it could ruin that experience for people, where then they just don't want to watch live video on LinkedIn, because I think, to Jeff's point, most people don't look for that sort of stuff on LinkedIn in that way. And you're not going to LinkedIn to sit and watch a 30-minute video or those sorts of things. And most, let's face it, most live video is going to be at least 15, 20 minutes in length, if not longer. You're not going to go live for 3 minutes. That's something where you shoot a video and you upload it, which is great for LinkedIn. But I agree. I think the group integration with live video would be good, but I don't see them knowing what LinkedIn does when they release these things 5 years after everybody else, and they kind of try to play catch up. And they're like, we're going to put it everywhere because it's going to be amazing. And it's like, but they don't and they don't really think about that rollout. So I can see them introducing it, putting it available everywhere, and it just getting taken advantage of. And then it's going to be like LinkedIn groups, where now people just avoid it because it's going to get spam attacked, basically. It's going to be people going live for stupid things. No one's going to want, it's just, I don't see it being, unless it's well managed by a few people, I don't see it being highly valuable. But I see them doing it. I agree. I totally see them doing it.
Yeah, they came out with stories, so they got
right. Can we talk? I mean, I'm not even going down that road. I'm done with stories.
When it comes to LinkedIn, I think that I like how we've just kind of gone the full circle. So Mike has one opinion, Jeff has the opposite opinion, and Jen is kind of bridging the gap in between. But the one thing that I wanted to bring up about LinkedIn as a social media channel, even though, yes, Jen is so right, about 5 years after something happens, they finally catch up. But after we watched them release uploaded video, that was a big game changer for a lot of people. All of a sudden, I don't want to call them nobodies. Nobody is a nobody. We're all a somebody. But on paper, somebody who was just not on the radar, all of a sudden started uploading video and has, you could see people's careers skyrocketing, or their social media platforms skyrocketing. There is something a little different about the algorithm on what's going on LinkedIn that is different than what we're seeing on all of the other social platforms. And I don't know if it's a good thing. I don't know if it's a bad thing. But it's not operating the way that we would typically expect it to operate, and some people are having some major breakthrough success over there. I don't know if that's because there's not as much noise over there, where in the news feed on Facebook, you are competing with a flood of lots of ads. You're competing with a flood of native uploaded video. You're competing with lots of live video. You're just competing with a really saturated news feed. So people that are embracing video and taking it over to LinkedIn and starting to play in that space, LinkedIn doesn't have all of the demographics that we see on Facebook. I'll just use Facebook as a comparison for now. LinkedIn doesn't have all of those demographics. It has a different mix of demographics. And within that mix, you don't necessarily have a lot of video content creators or people who are comfortable sitting behind a video, switching it on, creating a piece of polished content and putting it out there. So the people who are doing that, oh my goodness, they are breaking through all of the noise. They are able to get so much reach, so many views, so much attention, and it's a whole other ballgame happening over there. Now, I don't know if that type of success is going to be long-term, if it's going to be lasting, but it is absolutely boosting people's careers and having a major impact right now. And now behind the scenes with LinkedIn, we're seeing them really put that effort into cleaning up their pages. There was just an announcement last week or the week before, was it? That they've revamped their page experience, because their business pages before were a little bit sad. So I think that they are doing a lot of structural things in the background that might make LinkedIn a much more viable place for us to start housing content, to start showing up and be a little bit more present as marketers and as consumers. Because I'm kind of on the side of Jeff. I see that for the people who are showing up there daily and consuming content over there, they are using it like a social network now. It is starting to shift, but for other people kind of like me, like Jeff, unless I need something for business, I'm not going over there. I need to change as a marketer. I have to change that habit. I have to change that thinking. Same as how Jeff and I were talking earlier this week that, what's the benefit in getting on Pinterest? I've been focusing mainly on Facebook, Twitter, kind of LinkedIn, Instagram, definitely, but I've neglected Pinterest all the way along. So now I think, jumping back on this prediction train, my personal focus is shifting into how can I be better. I instruct clients to master one social media channel, then add on the next, and then add on the next after that. Me personally, it is time to put my big girl pants on and to start getting out on every single social media channel and to start using every social media channel to its fullest extent and push every single boundary within that. And I think that 2019 is the year that we're going to see some amazing things happen. The technology is there. If you just got to grab that bull by the horns and run with it.
I love that. So put your big girl pants in a mason jar, and it'll be perfect on Pinterest. So that works really great. So, just saying. That's
going to be my first pin, by the way.
I tell you, go viral.
Please do this. This would be epic.
Love it. I'll have to follow up that pin with a snippet of this video, just so I'm not crazy.
Yeah, totally out of context.
All right, cool. So who's next? Who are doing?
There was a couple points that you guys have made that I think segue really well into Stephanie's prediction. Yes, even though Stephanie is not here, she has a prediction for us, and let's hope
she's watching.
She's
hi,
watching.
Stephanie.
She says hi. She says hello from Orlando. But let's see if this works. Hopefully, this file will run.
Hey, what's up, you guys? It's Stephanie Lou, and I'm at the Animal Kingdom with my family for vacation, and I wanted to give you my 2019 live streaming prediction. And I honestly think that live streaming is going to be the new hot trend in the gig economy. So many people are interested in doing live streaming, but they're so terrified of the tech. Oh no! And that's where I think it's an opportunity for those of us that have been live streaming for so long to take advantage of our skill set and start offering it as a premium service where we help people develop their strategy, their promotional plans, as well as taking care of the tech so that small businesses and entrepreneurs can really crush it with live video. All right, you guys, I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Wow. And I thought live streaming from a car was badass.
No, I still give you props over Steph, but that was impressive.
Stephanie just swings in here with a 360 video. It's incredible. Yeah. Jeez, girl. Wow. I'm impressed.
We got a comment from Evie that said, yes, Stephanie Lou nailed it yet again.
Of course she did. Now I feel like this is setting a really unfair bar of expectation if any of us have to miss a show, because now I feel like we have to be able to jump in our absence on the show with something of equivalent level production. I'm like, this is not fair.
Yeah, actually, I think that's the new baseline.
Right.
Set
Dang
that bar high.
you, Stephanie Lou.
Or in your car. That's what you have to do. It's one or the other. You can't
Right.
do. Yeah.
Zoo, car. What's next? Somebody's gonna
All
have to
right.
one up it. The next one.
So do we want to talk to Steph's prediction then a little bit and about, offering that as a service and educating others and whatnot in terms of live video?
Absolutely. You have any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I definitely think it's something that, and I know like Amanda has done some of these kind of training videos whenever she does a setup. Like when we did our girls trip weekend in Arizona, she did a behind the scenes video of all the tech setup. And I think there needs to be a broad understanding of the fact that live video can be a production. And when we did that live video production in Arizona, it was a 3-camera setup. Amanda was managing the camera using like the eCam integration and going back and forth between cameras. And there was a whole plan and strategy behind it. And that's great. And if you have the ability to do that, that's the direction live video is going to go. It's going to go towards production level video. But there's a fear that comes with that. We do video. The 4 of us get on video like multiple times a week. This does not scare us. And yet what Amanda did intimidated the F out of me. Like, I was like, oh, hail to the no. Mama ain't touching this. Like, I'm going to sit here on the couch and let you do everything. And I'm somebody who's on video all the time. So
You also aren't going to see Jen sitting in her car with a Diva light and the whole setup here and a little travel battery. And yeah, that's also not Jen. So it's okay.
Right. I'm just going to do this, people. This is all I'm going to do. But it is one of those things that I think, while that is the direction, because live video components, you can go live on your camera and look high quality, and you can get a single light fixture and look like you're in a studio. But I think there needs to be a baseline education for people who don't understand video, because it's really easy for us to say, oh yeah, bring in multiple cameras and do a camera switch and let's have 6 cameras running and let's do this whole production. And you have somebody who's literally never gone live on camera is going to think that they need all of that to go live on camera, and that could inhibit them. So I think, to Stephanie's point, that education, either educating people on how to do it or offering it as a service to say, hey, we can help you with this. I've done these, multi-camera streams. But even when you're doing that, the challenge with this, and this has come up in Facebook groups, is what do you charge, or what are you willing to pay for that sort of service? Because this is a new industry. People offering live streaming services, you're like, okay, well, I'm going to have to come in and do the prep and set up the cameras, and then I have to do, is there any post-edit involved, or what's going on? And it's like, okay, is that a couple hours of your time? Is that a $3,000 job or a $300 job? And I think we're going to see this massive difference in what people are offering as a service. So in that sense, I think you have to say kind of buyer beware. Like, look at who's offering the service, really research them, look at alternatives. You're going to obviously want somebody who's local to you, and that could impact, their quality of service and their prices. And don't feel like someone's offering it means you have to take it, because it is something that I think people could get taken advantage of in these situations, because it is such a new industry.
I would also say that there's the local, somebody's coming to do it for locals, helping you set up the camera, get it straight, and help you, coaching you through what to say. I think that's going to be a huge thing. So I totally agree with what Stephanie was saying. I also think there's stuff like, I run all of Social Media Examiner's live shows from here in Texas, and they're in San Diego. I get the guests on, I do all that stuff. So there's even, there's going to be opportunities for people who produce those live shows, could even, polish it up, edit it, give them those little bits of content that they could put out on different places, social media. So I agree with Jen, too, that there's going to be a wide range of services. And you always, like she said, look at what they're putting out there, look at their references. If they've done, if they say, oh, I've done this for Jen Herman, I put all this stuff out for her. And, you can look and see the quality there. And the price, you're going to get what you want to pay for. What you're going to pay for. So there's going to be those fly-by-night people just trying to make a quick buck. And, you're going to get that unproduced, crappy-looking video. And then you're going to have people who you're going to have to pay more for. But I think there's going to be opportunities for more and more people to do this kind of gig thing, like Stephanie says. Go ahead.
I love what you're saying and where you're going with this, the whole idea of a remote studio. So I can envision, Stephanie does this. I wish Stephanie was in here right now. She's amazing when it comes to this live video production and offering, helping people up their live streaming game. But offering it as a service to educate and coach But I can see a real good business use case for a remote studio in the sense, kind of exactly what you do, Jeff, in that, you are the main master hub. You can coach them and educate them on what technology they need for their budget and for their production level. And you can walk them through what they need to do. You can do some dry run tests with them. You can then also facilitate taking that content afterwards, and like you said, giving them their little snippets and delivering that content back to them. It doesn't matter where you are in the world, with the amount of technology that we have, the amount of screen sharing, everything like that. I mean, if it came down to it, you could even have a business where you just pack all of the actual like technology pieces that they need.
Right.
Just do your own little shelf shopping and pack up a nice like special box, ship that off to them. They do their live stream production, pack it all back up, and ship it back to you. I mean, there's just potential. There's so much potential to what Stephanie and Jen are saying, is that this is sort of an untapped industry that is going to start, back on the prediction train, think it's going to start snowballing thanks to the sitting in the cold and the snow in my hat right now.
I think also, since we're talking on live video, that the tools are going to continue to improve and get better. Now, there's been rumors that Facebook's going to come out with their own kind of like studio where you're able to bring on, lower thirds and all that kind of stuff. You know what? But a lot of times it doesn't work the way you want it. If you've tried stuff on Facebook before, and plus they'll give stuff and then take it away. We used to have the Creator app where you could actually do pre-roll videos before you went live on your phone, and then have one at the end. That's gone. You just said it's gone, and so you don't have that anymore. And so as the third-party tools like Wirecast, Ecamm, vMix, all those things go through, they're going to continue to get better, and they're also going to allow, if somebody would invent where you could pull in comments from every place at the same time and put them on your screen, they would be millionaires. There's already some that kind of do.
That is prediction right there, people. Who's coming out with it?
Right. It's like, so if they could do that, and there's some that'll like kind of do it, but you can't have Periscope or you can't have YouTube. So when those come out where I could go live and go to multiple places and bring those people's comments on the screen, that's going to be huge. And I think that's going to be better. In fact, this is a little rant I'm going to say, is if you're using some sort of software to go live on Facebook and you're not bringing people's comments up on the screen, don't use that software. I mean, Ecamm does it, vMix does it. The reason you're going live on Facebook is, or wherever, is to interact with people. That's what's cool. That's what people want to see. We've had people at Social Media Examiner, when we brought up their comment on screen, do a screenshot and share it on Instagram because we answered their. So, anyway, little rant there. But I think the tools are going to really go crazy next year, and I think there's the people who understand that are on the leading edge will have opportunities to coach, sell training, do consulting, produce shows, all that stuff.
Yeah, and I know you guys can't see because you're coming in through Skype, but actually we have been throwing up some comments on the screen, and one that I put up earlier that I want to put up again because it speaks to what we were just talking about was from Sue Ann. And Sue Ann commented while you were talking, Amanda, she said, is video the next content shock? So everybody listening, I want to give you guys some context because this is super important. This is why Stephanie's prediction is so insightful and so true. 10, 15 years ago, people started to blog, and they found that it was super easy to create blogs. They could buy a website, they could get a domain and hosting and a WordPress for very, very little investment of money, very, very little investment of time, and they could start to create written content. And the more people did that, the more the internet became flooded with this content. And it's what Mark Schaefer coined content shock, because we got to the point where there was written content everywhere. And there were so many people talking about the same things. It was overwhelming as consumers to understand who was sharing the right information, who was sharing the best information, and so on. What Stephanie's talking about really speaks to what's happening now with video. Video is getting into an age of content shock where anybody can create live video. And as I was talking about, they can create it on virtually every platform, maybe every platform by the end of next year, right? And because everybody can do it, that means anybody can do it. And if anybody can do it, that means most of the content is, frankly, crap. Most of the video content that is being produced today is not interesting to most people. So having the assistance of a professional producer, that's going to be the differentiator for any business that wants to really stand out next year and in the next few years when it comes to their video content in this sea of everybody else creating video content. So I think that's really important to know.
Yeah.
And I want to just kind of highlight on that because I think I use the phrase like smorgasbord of crap when I'm on stage talking about.
Tell us how you really feel, Jen.
tell it to me straight, people. But I always say we as marketers have created this, cesspool, however you want to refer to it, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Instagram, whether you're talking ads, whether you're talking organic content, whether you're talking blogs, like written form, whether you're talking videos, because we as marketers tend to be the ones that go out and just infiltrate the market with all of this stuff because, okay, video is the thing to do. Let's just do all video. And it's useless, or it's low quality, or people are rambling and there's no value add, or they're creating 5 videos when they could have done it in 2. And it's this oversaturation of content. And to Mike's point, if you're working with a professional who comes in and says, here's the things, to focus on, and here's how to look at strategically, and here's how to look at a calendar and say, here's how much content you actually need, whether that's more or less than what they think they need, and to help them through that process, I think that is key to overcoming those challenges that we're so accustomed to seeing with this just infiltration of content.
Here's what one of the things. So I think we hit content shock on video like 6 months or a year ago on Facebook. So I'm talking specifically Facebook. I think that businesses who can really do edutainment really well will still succeed on Facebook. They could still get traction there. But I see for the most average, like small business, like our clients, the people we're talking to, that will be where they can go live inside of their communities, where they can have a flower shop, and then it doesn't matter if they have their smart camera and they're answering questions like, "What I have a party for my daughter. What do I do? How do I take these flowers and do what?" And you can sit there and answer those questions. I think that's huge. But I really think that everyone's saying, "Go live on Facebook. You'll get all this reach, and everybody will see you and buy all your products." Unless you're really funny or have a really tight produced show, I just don't see that, really going that much anymore.
So I'm going to kind of play devil's advocate. I'm going to disagree with you a little bit there.
You're wrong, but go ahead.
I agree with you. Ouch. And, well then, okay.
He is the guest, right? We don't have to have him back.
No,
right?
we don't. I can say whatever I want now.
But I agree with you from a quality standpoint, but from an algorithm standpoint, with clients that I've worked with, when I actually look at the numbers, look at the algorithm, look at the numbers, look at the reach, look at what they're actually doing, if they do not have live video as part of their strategy, they are absolutely getting crushed by their competition right now. They are not breaking through. They are getting left behind in the dust. So I do agree with you that, the edutainment factor and people who are doing a little more of a well-produced show or able to kind of elevate that status a little bit further beyond like the selfie cam, with low production, I think are going to perform better. But the ones that are not doing live video or incorporating live video into their strategy right now are getting left quickly behind.
So I will push back and knock your hat off on that one, your beanie, or whatever it's called.
It's a toque. It's a toque.
E for two. Okay. This is prediction. I'm talking about later on as the algorithm changes. I don't think Facebook could continue to do. Their stats are so not right, and if you don't know how to dig into live video stats, I mean, you have one stat that shows you retention, and there's this whole lately some talk about this in the social media marketing thing and how retention jumps off on Facebook. Every video that I know of always has horrible retention stats on video. Now, live video, when you're answering questions and talking to people, that keeps up there. But that stat's hard to find. That's hard to look and to see, and most people see that plummeted off. And so Facebook really isn't very honest with 3 seconds counts as a view. That's somebody scrolling through your feed, really. So I think they've got to clean that up. They're in a lot of trouble anyway, so they're going to have to do some of the fair reporting, I guess. But I think that so that's going to kind of go downhill. But I agree that that if you don't do live video, your strategy is suffering. But some people will never do live video. I have clients who will never get on camera ever, and it's just because they can't stand it. And so how do you work with them? Like we talked about what Stephanie was saying, bring on somebody who can do that. Maybe train a staff member who would be a great voice of your company. Pay somebody to train them to do that. So I just think Facebook's algorithm on video is going to change. You know how it is, Amanda. Somebody sneezes over at Facebook and they change something.
I know.
And so, and then we're like all scrambling to catch up. So I predict that the algorithm is going to do some wacky stuff. Who knows what Facebook Watch what's going to happen there? But I think using live video as an engagement tool and not using it as we're throwing video up just to throw video up.
Yeah.
That's what's key. If they never answer questions live, I just really don't see there's any value to going live. So as I go through puberty, sorry.
I do personally, I agree with what you're saying. Professionally, I'm seeing different things with the numbers. Even if they're putting up a crappy live video, even if they are too afraid to interact with people and they do a bad job and they end up going live sideways because they change their orientation halfway through, things like that, it's working.
It's boosting their reach, and I think it's still. But don't you think they'll change that in the future as more and more video comes out? That's what my big point is.
And that's the thing, I think we're at that point where it's still easy for people who are doing it to get results,
right?
Which because it is still like they get preferential treatment with the algorithm or placements and whatnot in the feed. So if they are doing crappy video, they're still going to get some sort of augmented reach and exposure from it, but they're not going to get long-term results from that because they may get it for a couple videos, but if it's always crappy content, people aren't going to watch it the next time they see it in their feed.
So
go ahead. Sorry.
I am kind of coming around and coming onto the same page as Jeff then, that yes, right now in its current state, you need to have live video even if it's crappy. But I do agree that the algorithm in the future, the prediction is that, yes, it will probably get smarter. And just by virtue of you pressing the damn button and going live, probably won't get you the same reach and the same results that you're experiencing now. It's probably going to be shifting more into those actual engagement metrics. And metrics like, for example, I'm watching my phone over here to see how many people we have live right now. We've got a decent number of live viewers right now. And I think those types of metrics, the number of live viewers, the number of conversational comments back and forth, I think those are going to start to become more heavy weighted in how well that video is going to perform, how well those live pieces of content are going to perform long term.
Right.
Real quick,
and that's what I was pulling up with. Go ahead.
Noble.
Sorry.
I said real quick, I want to bring in a comment from Kelly Noble. She says, I don't agree. Live video converts. And it's not just about reach, it's about results, which I think is very interesting. Obviously, that's going to vary depending on your business and the kind of video that you're creating. But if you have an opportunity to reach individuals that will convert, then it's not necessarily a numbers game for you, right? It's not necessarily about reaching thousands if you only need a couple of people to convert. A lot of it's just going to depend on the business. Service-oriented businesses are going to find this to be a lot easier, for instance, than someone who's selling a $5 widget. So,
and I wanted to point out the reason I was disagreeing with Amanda, which we disagree on a lot of stuff, I think. No, I'm just kidding. Is because what Mike was saying at the beginning of the show is trying to get people to think about trends. And so my thing was be like, okay, if you're doing just kind of throwing up live video, what's the next thing? What do you need to improve so you can ride that wave and continue to get reach, like Kelly was saying? And Kelly has some great videos. She does some great stuff. I've seen it. How you can continue to ride that. And I think all of us would agree that continuing to do the exact same thing you're doing in 2018 in 2019 is not going to work. You've always got to be pushing the envelope. We're always trying to get our clients to do better, try new things, kind of ride the wave. And I just think we can't stop doing that.
That's awesome.
That's a really good point. I agree wholeheartedly with that, with what you're saying, Jeff. And I also agree with the point that Kelly was making, where, it's not necessarily about the reach and the volumes of reach. It's about reaching the right people and getting those right people on your live streams. But I also think, to your point, the point that Jeff's making is that even to reach those few people who are the right people, who are the purchasers, who are going to help you perpetuate your momentum in business, it's going to get harder and harder to get your content into the newsfeed, if you're not shifting and adapting to the needs of the algorithm. And unfortunately, we do, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, any social channel, we unfortunately are praying to the algorithm gods. That's all it is. It's like, what content can we sacrifice this time that you're going to love?
Right.
That's all it is.
All right, so we need to move on because we're already at 45 minutes and we've only covered 2 topics and technically we want to cover 5. So we're probably going to have to skip a few people.
We got the most important ones done.
Right. Everyone's good. We got Stephanie who's not here and we got Mike. We're done. Show's over. Bye, guys. All right, so why don't we throw it over to Jeff since he's the guest of honor. If there's no other points that we really want to stress, but I would love to hear what Jeff has to say.
On what topic?
What is your prediction?
Prediction. So just general prediction. I kind of gave mine already, but I'll go into Pinterest because that's kind of my thing that I'm talking about. Pinterest, I think, is going to go public next year. They've already pretty much said that in their things. We were talking about video, and I'd like to transition to that. Would be that you're now allowed to do like video pins on there, and I'm just really excited about that because if you've seen them in the feed, they really pop out. So I would say there's going to be more and more of that kind of stuff. People will start to see some traction using live video over there on Pinterest. And the other thing is, back to live video, I love live video. I think that the more people will really who dive into their groups and communicate with live video. And Lori Petrucci was saying, she did an example when I saw her speak at not VidCon, another conference. She was talking about the difference between going, "Hey everybody, thanks for joining our live stream, really appreciate it," and then going, "Hey, Jen Herman, thank you so much for being here." That connection that you can do with live video, I just think you can't say enough about that. And I think the businesses who do that more and more and really get creative on how they can engage their live viewers, there are some cool things coming out. Like I was watching one of Luria and Dave do a thing on Geeks Life, where now Facebook lets you give stars, which is kind of monetizing for like gamers and stuff that's going to be available to other people. You're able to get points. Like since I watch their show all the time, I get a special badge because I'm there that says I'm like one of their top viewers. So I think that kind of stuff where you can really engage, and they're going to steal a lot of stuff from Twitch. It's going to be more and more important for live video. But that engagement in the community, that's my big one.
So live video on Pinterest. That was the big thing. So we got live video on LinkedIn, live video
I don't
on
know
Pinterest.
about. Yeah, we'll see about live video on Pinterest. I mean, they're video pins that they can have. I'm not sure if they'll ever do live because I don't know if that would work. But
yeah,
still, video pins are big.
Cool. Any comments or feedback on Jeff's prediction? Tell him why he's wrong, Amanda.
Come on.
I'm afraid to tell him he's wrong because, that'll take up the rest of the show.
Jeez. Have you been talking to my wife? Because, I mean, it sounds like, yeah.
She's always right. I mean, I can't argue that.
Can't argue, yeah.
No, I do agree with you. I agree with you. You're making some good points here,
I try.
Can we get a recording of this? Amanda and Jeff agree on something.
Whoa, guys, that's going to hurt my street rep with, the whole social media industry here.
That's right.
Stephanie clip that one out and send that back to Jeff so he can just play it on a loop over and over.
Right.
Pinterest pin where Amanda's saying, "I agree with Jeff."
I'll just start, after a while, I'll just start twitching. It'll be a good.
Order up.
No. All right, so I have a prediction to dive into.
You're up.
If that's okay. Am I okay to?
You're good, and then I'll wrap it up.
You're good. And by the way, Evie says that hell is freezing over right now.
Hell is freezing over. It feels like hell is freezing over because it is cold here right now. I had the car running to warm everything up before going live so that it's quiet in here. So I've had the car off, and now it's like starting to
Oh my God.
cool off in here. Not to say that I'm in hell right now, but it sure is. It's not the beach. Anyway, okay. So my prediction is, you guys know me. You know that I talk like a broken record when it comes to chatbots, Facebook Messenger chatbots. So my prediction is that we are going to see more and more marketers shifting into the messenger marketing chatbot space because it is currently crushing it when it comes to results in comparison to other tactics like email marketing. So that's sort of part one of the prediction. Part two of that prediction is that I think that we're going to start seeing a major crackdown in what you can and can't do with those chatbots, because again, as it starts to the market gets a little more saturated with novice marketers who don't know what they're doing, hitting buttons and making things happen and thinking that they're growing their business. Meanwhile, they're just spamming the heck out of people and driving people off of the Messenger platform. Facebook doesn't want to have that happen. Consumers don't want to have that happen. So I think it's this fine little dance and balance going on right now between chatbot builders and the platforms themselves, trying to balance and make everybody happy. These guys want to make money. These guys want to enjoy their user experience. How do we meet in the middle? So I think we're going to see a lot more regulations getting cracked down. Like, for example, with GDPR, GDPR isn't exactly very well melded into chatbot use. Like, there's a lot of, you can break rules. Like, there are rules that exist that are kind of like you're supposed to be doing things a certain way, but the technology itself lets you override that. You can still hit a button and broadcast out a message to people you're not supposed to. You can still do things 24 hours after your last cutoff of being able to communicate with people, on paper, and you can break that rule. The technology is allowing you to break the rule, and it's too hard to police it right now. So I think systemically we're going to see a huge crackdown coming down on how you can use messenger marketing chatbots. But I think the people who are going to be successful in the long run are the people who are the early adopters, who are jumping on board with the technology right now, using this, what I've been referencing as the wild, wild west of chatbot building, getting in on it, starting to actually use the technology, learn how it works, learn the ins and outs, learn how you can apply it to your particular business and to your audience base. And then once the rules start cracking down, you've already got so much experience under your belt, you've got so much experience behind you that you can really leverage it and stand out above the crowd. So that's sort of my prediction on how it's shifting. I think that we're going to see way more marketers, way more businesses embracing Facebook Messenger marketing chatbots, because it's converting better and performing way better than older forms of communication like email marketing. But I also think it's going to get highly regulated, and the people who are going to stand out are the early adopters who are using that technology right now. Okay.
So I want to chime in on the regulation, because I agree with you 100% on the regulation getting more strict. And California enacted the law like in November or whatever it was, or going into this November session, where now you have to disclose that it's a bot. You can't let people think that it's an actual person, because so many people were using, and this isn't just for chatbots, this is even for things like when we get all those spam calls now and they try to make it sound like it's a human being that's actually talking to you, but it's still actually a recording. And so California enacted this law that said if they're talking to an automated machine, you need to disclose that by saying, hey, this is Sam, our AI chatbot, ask me any question and I'm happy to answer. But you have to disclose that it's an automated tool. And when California enacts these things, it basically means everyone else now has to follow suit, because if there's any chance that you're working with somebody in California, you need to have this in place. And then that means wherever you're working, you're doing these things. So I think that regulation will get more widespread. And I agree with what you said. I think we'll see more of it. And I definitely see that regulation becoming, stricter and in some ways more limiting, but hopefully that eliminates that marketers ruin everything clause that we tend to do to everything. Hopefully those regulations are there. It won't get taken advantage of in the same way as a lot of other new tools.
Here's my devil's advocate question for you, because as you said, Jen, marketers ruin everything. So Amanda, to your point, consider that more and more businesses and more marketers next year are going to use chatbots. How do consumers feel about that? And is there a risk that more and more consumers will just turn it all off and say, I'm not going to accept chat messages, I'm not going to respond to them, I'm going to mute those pages because I don't want to be invaded and messaged to that way?
I think if you have a bad experience so it's first impressions. If your first impression is a bad experience, then you're going to be one of those people that's there. I don't like messenger chatbots. But if you're one of those people who has had a great experience and it solves a problem, and you can just use the chatbot, access whatever giveaway is happening, or access the information you need, or get the FAQ, do a transaction purchase without having to deal with the person, do it natively in the platform where you like to operate. I think it's going to be a game changer for people being able to access the solutions that they're looking for when they're done right. So I think it's going to have a lot to do with the influence of that first impression. If they got in with, I've had people talk to me about bots where they, signed up for a discount code on like a cute little summer dress. And then every day they're getting spammed with another, what about this dress? What about this scarf? What about these shoes? What about this glove? And they can't turn it off. Or they're trying to hit stop or unsubscribe. They don't know how to turn it off, and they're overwhelmed and they're pissed off. And so that's a reality. That is what is happening right now. But I think on the flip side, the more that this is getting adopted by marketers and put into more mainstream marketing, and not all marketers are terrible. Some of us are pretty freaking clever and awesome and fun and really produce some really neat things that produce results, like Kelly Noble Mirabella in her chatbot games and the information she delivers through her chatbot. Like there's some really, and Andrew and Pete, oh my god, I love their content. I love what they're doing with chatbots. So there are people out there that are doing a fantastic job, and if that is your first impression, I think that if you have a good first impression and then you subsequently end up interacting with a bad bot, bad bots, don't do bad bots, I still think you're not going to give up on it. I think you're going to keep.
And I think it's also one of those things that it's a convenience factor, and some people are more accepting when it's a convenience thing. So it's the same thing, right? Like I don't care if Facebook knows all my information because I want good targeted ads. Those people who go in and turn off all of the information that Facebook has on them, now they start getting stupid ads, and they complain that they're getting stupidly targeted ads. I'm like, well, you cleared your cache of information for Facebook, so of course they can't serve you good ads. So when it comes to chatbots, if they are serving a convenience that is of value, people will appreciate them. For example, if I run a business from 8 to 5 Pacific time, and you're based in the UK and you want to ask me a question at midnight my time, my chatbot can answer that question. You get an immediate response. You're a happier consumer because now you can complete that transaction or get the information you need to move forward with your project or whatever it is, and not have to wait 8 more hours for me to wake up just to even, okay, am I going to even assume that I'm going to respond right away at 8 o'clock? And so instead of waiting these, delays of responses, if you're getting that immediate conversion on asking that question or getting that piece of information from a chatbot, that's huge value. That's a convenience factor, in which case, if that's valuable enough to you, you're willing to kind of ignore the fact that once in a while you deal with a bad bot, or once in a while you get maybe a spam or something like that. There's going to be people who are like, nope, I don't want the spam. I don't want the bad experiences. And they're not going to be willing to accept those, and they're going to give up that convenience factor as a result.
So when we talk about convenience, with Jen giving that example of somebody being able to kind of self-serve the information they need to move them forward into the next step to keep the process moving, it's great. So, but I interacted with a bad bot. Recently, I had a problem with PayPal. So I ended up going through their customer service, which means picking up an actual phone, and that makes me shudder. I'm like, I'd rather just chat with them. I don't want to. I had to pick up a phone, and I called. But guess what? Their bot, they have a bot, and it's all conversational. It's like, tell me your problem. I'm like, having trouble connecting an account. And okay, so then, well, what would you like to do? Connect an account? I'm like, yes. Okay, I'm going to walk you through the instructions on how to connect your account. I'm like, I don't need the how-to. I've been there. I've done that. I've run into a security problem. It's just, but it's a bad experience because if I pick up a phone, I'm trying to talk to a human. If I'm engaging on Messenger and a bot and I'm going through all the things, on Messenger, that's a whole different experience because I'm not trying to talk to a person. So if I'm talking to a bot, that's fine. I'll accept it. I'm more accepting of bot interactions on a computer than when I'm trying to talk to somebody and it's a bot interaction. So I think marrying up the expectations of people's comfort zone on their chosen method of communication. I mean, if I email somebody, I don't expect them to pick up the phone and call my number to give me an answer or a response. That also makes me uncomfortable. We all operate differently, right? So if it's just sort of playing in that native space where you're comfortable. And I think engaging with messenger marketing chatbots is just opening it's just opening another channel where people can interact with you in a native space that they're comfortable with. So it's not the be all and end all. It's not the right answer. You still have to maintain your phone numbers. You still have to maintain your email communication. You still have to keep all of those other channels open. But if you are ignoring chatbots, you're like cutting off a very viable communication channel and cutting off an opportunity to do a lot more business than you've been doing if you're ignoring that altogether.
Before we do anything else, I want to make sure, Jen, you have a chance to share what your prediction for the year.
I don't matter. It's fine. Yeah. So and this is actually a prediction I had in 2018, and we did see it happen, and I only can see it getting even more true in 2019. So my prediction is these in-app integrations. And by that, I mean doing more external things within social media. So being able to book your hair appointment within Facebook, or doing these types of things because Facebook doesn't want you to leave Facebook. LinkedIn doesn't want you to leave LinkedIn. They want to keep you on their platform. And the way to do that is to bring in these integrations. So for example, Instagram did that big this year with their call to action buttons that they added to the business profile. So now they integrate with, Grubhub and Resy and Eventbrite. So you can say, hey, buy tickets, click on the Get Tickets button on my profile. So you're literally making conversions right from within Instagram by them clicking on that button. It opens to Eventbrite, tickets are purchased and done, and the sale has been made right from originating in Instagram. They don't have to leave the app, go to a separate web browser, or try to remember to do it. And that is allowing better conversions. It's getting people to stay on the apps more because you can do more on the individual apps. So we saw a lot. Facebook, I think, is spearheading this. I mean, I know they're spearheading it compared to any other platform. And because they own Instagram, we're seeing it on Instagram as well. And I really think Facebook is going to push the boundaries on this in the coming years. And it's going to be one of those things where Facebook is going to be your go-to for everything, where you will log into Facebook and you will be able to book a reservation, with whether it's a hair appointment or at a restaurant. You'll be able to, check and see that your dry cleaning is up and ready to be picked up, or you'll be getting these sorts of notifications, whether they're a combination of various tools and third-party integrations. It could be chatbot type integrations, but we're going to see more of that integration and less of this silo effect of here is LinkedIn in and of itself, here is Twitter in and of itself. We're going to see those integrations more and more. Like I said, it started this year. I see it being an even bigger deal in 2019.
That's awesome. And it really ties in well with a lot of the themes that we've really been hitting on today, which is that next year, everything can and will get better. The platforms will get better, and the content that people are posting to the platforms is going to have to get better in order to compete. Anybody else have any comments or final thoughts on either Jen's prediction or in general?
Do you remember back in the day when content was king? A lot has changed.
My content is king.
Hey, blogging brute over here.
That's right. That's right.
Jeff, any thoughts and closing ideas on any of this?
I was just going to agree with what Amanda said, because I think that the regulation thing is going to be key. And once again, when Stephanie was talking about hiring people and like 360 Marketing Squad, is that you're going to have to, if you're not geeking out about chatbots, you're going to need to hire somebody to do it, because it's even going to be more, I believe, specialized than live video. It's going to be more. Yeah. Anyway, how's that for an in plug? That was a great that was a great in plug. And people like Kelly and some of the other ones, I mean, who live and breathe chatbots. I mean, it's going to be like, we can't do everything. That's why you guys form this team, is because you each have your specialities. And I think that's going to be more important for people to see, is like, okay, who do I go to write me a bot, and how much does it cost, and what do I get with it, and all that stuff. And so I see that happening a lot more. It's not going to be like, Jen, I think you said, this one-size-fits-all manager who can do everything. I mean, there are going to be some general people that can kind of do that stuff, but mostly to really be successful on those, and you're going to have to hire an expert on a certain subject.
So I think that is,
and it was Amanda that said that, so I'm going to give her credit for that.
Dang it! I don't want to give her
those words.
He doesn't want to give you credit.
No more credit. I've given her plenty.
I want to say Amanda's right. But I wanted to say,
when he started that, he did say, "I will agree with Amanda." So, Mike, we need to isolate that one as well.
You make it sound like we talk almost every other week on a show, and we don't ever disagree, really. I mean, I was giving her a hard time.
I just silently disagree with my eyes and staring you down, But that was a great segue into saying, you're going to need to specialize. If you can't specialize, it's time to start getting that help that you need. And that's the segue that I'm going to pull into. That's why the 360 Marketing Squad is here for you, and that's why we exist. And we are definitely helping we're just helping the average marketer. You don't have to be a complete, rock star who's dedicated into buying every single course on the market. No, for $5 a month. That's all it is. $5 a month. You get into the private Facebook group where we go live with specialized training from one of us or special guests in the future that we will be bringing in. But we're bringing you all of the information that you need to stay current and to stay on top of this stuff and to be educated on 360 degrees of your marketing. And you can ask any question that you want within the group, and we will do everything we can to get you the answer. If one of us cannot answer it, our networks are so far-reaching within this digital marketing space. We know people who do know the answer, so we will be able to help you. So that's it. I mean, to have 4 experts in your back pocket to be able to go to in a place where you can go for answers and participate in all of these live trainings and just have a really kick-ass community for $5 a month, it's kind of a no-brainer. There is a link in our broadcast here that'll bring you into our chatbot, and you can self-serve the FAQ within the chatbot and get the information that you need. So I really encourage you to check us out.
Yeah, I can say, yep, that was perfect.
Awesome.
But I do want to point out as well, we're talking predictions and we're talking about, the evolution of social media and what's to come in 2019. And while, yes, there are some things we know are coming because they've told us that APIs are going to change or that features are being tested. And so some things we do know. But the reality is nobody knows everything that's going on in this space until it happens. And that is why we are the 360, because we come at it from all of these different specialties and backgrounds, as Jeff mentioned. But we make sure that if something does change, we're giving you that educated response as to how that's going to impact you, making sure that you're up to speed on those things so you're not having to go to Google and research or find out about it 3 months after the fact. So that is why we have 360. And like Amanda said, for $5 a month, you guys, it's everyone that has joined the group and asked one question of the group has said, wow, I just got at least 1 month, if not multiple months of, value from one question they ask in the group.
Yeah.
So if you're not already a member, go to the chatbot or 360marketingsquad.com.
Absolutely. So with that, I'm going to point out that we will be live right here again in 2 weeks. And Stephanie will still be on vacation, so we will have a new special guest in 2 weeks.
I need Stephanie's schedule. How do I get on this routine?
Join the 360 Marketing Squad, right?
Right? Yeah, she's figured this out.
Awesome. So
Love
thank
it.
you, Jeff, for being here, for being
Thank
our
you,
special
Jeff.
guest this week. You've been amazing. Thank you, Jen and
Thank you.
Amanda. Thank you, everybody else, for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed this broadcast. And if you have more questions, pile them in. We'll answer them. But until next time, have a great week.
Bye, everybody.